Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're tackling some of those tricky English idioms. Those phrases that can really trip you up if you're not in the know.
Yeah, these idioms can make English seem like a whole other language sometimes.
For sure. But once you get the hang of them, they can really make your English sound more natural and fluent, like you're really in the loop.
Absolutely. It's like you've crashed the code to sounding like a native speaker.
So let's dive right in. We've got a whole bunch of idioms to unpack today, and I can't wait to hear your insights on these.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, let's kick things off with a really common one, on the ball.
Ah, yes. On the ball. This one's all about being alert, quick thinking, and prepared.
Right. It's like you're always one step ahead. You know what needs to be done before anyone else even has to ask.
Totally. And you're ready to handle whatever comes your way.
So picture this. You're working on a project with a tight deadline, and your teammate not only finishes their part ahead of schedule, but also spots potential problems before they even arise.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely on the ball. No doubt about it.
Definitely on the ball.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk about under the weather.
Under the weather. This one's a little more subtle.
Yeah, it's a way of saying you're not feeling your best without going into too much detail.
Right. It's like a polite way to say, I'm not feeling great, but I don't want to make a big fuss about it.
Exactly. It's perfect for those times when you're feeling a bit run down or have a slight cold.
Yeah. You wouldn't use it if you were seriously ill, but for those minor ailments, it's just right.
Okay, let's move on to one that can be a bit tricky. Let the cat out of the bag.
Ooh, let the cat out of the bag. This one's all about revealing a secret, usually accidentally.
So imagine this. You're planning a surprise party for your friend, and someone accidentally spills the beans before the big day.
Oh no, that's definitely letting the cat out of the bag.
Right. And all that careful planning goes out the window.
And the surprise is ruined.
Okay, so let's lighten the mood a bit. This next one's always a fun one to explain. Break a leg.
Break a leg. Now, this one sounds a bit strange at first glance.
Yeah, you'd think it was a bad thing to wish someone a broken leg.
Right. But actually, it's a way of wishing someone good luck, especially in the world of theater.
It's like saying, I hope you have a fantastic performance, but with a bit of theatrical flair.
Exactly. And it's become a common expression of encouragement in many other fields as well.
All right, so we've talked about being on the ball, under the weather, and wishing someone to break a leg. But what about those times when we have to face a difficult task head on?
Well, in those cases, you might need to bite the bullet.
Bite the bullet. Now that sounds a bit painful.
It does, doesn't it?
But
But it essentially means confronting a challenging or unpleasant situation with courage and determination.
right, like just getting it over with, even though you might not want to.
Exactly. It's about facing your fears and tackling those tough tasks head on.
Okay, so let's think of a scenario. Imagine you have to give a presentation in front of a large audience and you're feeling really nervous about it.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a time to bite the bullet.
Right. No matter how nervous you feel, you just have to get up there and do it.
Sometimes there's no way around it but to just take the plunge.
Okay, let's move on to one that's a bit more about hard work and dedication. Burn the midnight oil.
Ah, yes. Burn the midnight oil, a classic. This one's all about working late into the night.
Often sacrificing sleep to get things done. I remember those late night study sessions fueled by coffee and determination.
Totally. It's that feeling of being completely absorbed in your work and not even noticing the time flying by.
So imagine you're working on a project with a tight deadline, and you find yourself staying up late night after night to make sure everything's perfect.
Oh, yeah, you're definitely burning the midnight oil in that case.
Burning the midnight oil. It's
Yeah.
definitely happened to all of us at some point. Okay, let's switch gears again and talk about the ball is in your court.
Ooh, the ball is in your court. Now, this one's all about responsibility and taking action.
Right. It means it's your turn to make a decision or take the next step.
Exactly. Imagine you're negotiating a deal and you've made your offer. Now it's up to the other party to respond.
So you've done your part, and now you're waiting to see what they'll do.
Precisely. The responsibility has shifted to them.
All right, we're on a roll. Let's move on to costs an arm and a leg.
Oh, yeah, this one's a good one. Cost an arm and a leg basically means something is extremely expensive.
It's like saying you have to pay a ridiculous amount of money for something.
Right. Think about those things that make you cringe when you see the price tag.
Like a brand new car or a house in a really desirable neighborhood.
Or even just a simple cup of coffee these days. Some of those prices are getting pretty steep.
So true. Becky, at least we can use this idiom to complain about it.
Exactly. It's a way to express our shock and disbelief at those outrageous prices.
Okay, let's talk about go the extra mile.
Go the extra mile. This one's all about going above and beyond what's expected.
It's like putting in that extra effort, making that extra phone call, or doing whatever it takes to make sure things are done right.
Exactly. It's about exceeding expectations and showing a true dedication to your work or to the people you care about.
Think about a coworker who stays late to help you finish a project, or a friend who goes out of their way to do something special for you.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely going the extra mile. Those are the kind of people you want to keep around.
Absolutely. Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about peace of mind.
Peace of mind. This one's all about feeling calm and secure, knowing that everything is okay.
It's that feeling of relief when you've taken care of everything and you can finally relax and enjoy the moment.
Right. It's like knowing you've locked the door and turned off the oven before leaving on vacation.
Exactly. Or knowing that you're financially secure or that your health is in good shape.
Yeah, it's about having that sense of tranquility and knowing that you're safe and sound.
Right, pull someone's leg.
Pull someone's leg. This one's all about teasing or joking with someone.
It's like playing a harmless prank or making a funny remark to get a laugh.
Exactly. Imagine telling your friend you won the lottery even though you didn't.
Right. It's all in good fun, of course. And as long as the other person knows you're just joking.
Of course. It's just the lighthearted way to add a little humor to the situation.
Okay, last but not least, let's talk about hit the books.
Hit the books. This one's for all the students out there.
It means to study hard and put in the effort to learn something new.
Right. It's all about those long hours spent reading textbooks, taking notes, and preparing for exams.
So imagine you have a big exam coming up and you're spending all your free time studying.
Oh, yeah. You're definitely hitting the books in that case. No doubt about it.
Hitting the books. It's a familiar experience for anyone who's ever been a student.
Definitely. And it's a great way to emphasize the importance of dedication and hard work when it comes to learning.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground already, but there are so many more fascinating idioms out there just waiting to be explored.
That's right. And we'll be back in part 2 with even more insights and examples to help you master these colorful expressions. Welcome back to our deep dive into English idioms.
It's amazing how many of these expressions we use in everyday conversation without even thinking about it.
Right. It's like they're built into our language DNA.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's pick up where we left off. What about those times when we're feeling a bit indecisive, stuck between two options?
Ah, you're talking about sitting on the fence.
Exactly. It's that feeling of being unable to choose a side or make a decision.
Right. Like you're weighing the pros and cons, but can't quite commit to one path or the other.
It's like that internal debate we have when we're trying to figure out what to do. Should I stay or should I go?
Where should I order the pizza or the pasta?
Yeah.
Decisions.
Food is always a tough one. But speaking of uncertainty, what about those times when things are still up in the air?
Oh, yeah. Up in the air. That's a good one. It means that plans or situations are still uncertain and could change at any moment.
It's like waiting to hear back about a job offer or a college application. You just don't know what the outcome will be.
Right. And it can be a bit nerve-wracking not knowing what the future holds.
Definitely. But sometimes you just have to embrace the known and go with the flow.
Go with the flow. Now, that's a great idiom for those times when you need to be flexible and adaptable.
It's like saying, okay, I'm not sure what's going to happen next, but I'm just going to roll with it.
Exactly. It's about accepting change and being open to new possibilities.
Okay, this next one is a real gem. Actions speak louder than words. What are your thoughts on this one?
Ooh, actions speak louder than words. That's a classic. And it's so true.
It's a powerful reminder that what we do is often more important than what we say.
Right. It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Imagine someone who's always promising to do things, but never follows through. Their actions definitely speak louder than their words in that case.
Exactly. And on the flip side, if someone consistently shows up for you and supports you, their actions will speak volumes about their true character.
Okay, let's move on to one that's a bit more about time management. Lose track of time.
Ah, yes. Lose track of time. We've all been there.
It's that feeling of being so engrossed in something that you completely lose yourself in the moment.
And the hours just seem to melt away.
You look up at the clock and you're like, whoa, where did the time go?
Happens to me all the time, especially when I'm reading a good book or working on a project I'm passionate about.
Okay, this next one's a bit more about taking a break. Call it a day.
Ah, call it a day. A classic way to signal that you're done for the day.
It's like saying, okay, I've worked hard enough for today. It's time to relax and recharge.
Exactly. And it can apply to all sorts of situations, not just work.
Right. Like if you're working on a project and you've hit a wall, you might decide to call it a day and come back to it with fresh eyes tomorrow.
Or if you're out with friends and it's getting late, you might call it a day and head home.
Exactly. Okay, so what about those times when we need to release some pent-up energy or frustration?
Ah, you're talking about blowing off some steam.
Blow off some steam. Exactly. It's like finding a healthy outlet for those intense emotions.
Right. Whether it's through exercise, spending time in nature, or just doing something you enjoy.
It's about finding a way to de-stress and regain your balance.
And we all need that from time to time.
Okay, this next one is a bit more about those breaking points, the
Ah.
last straw.
Ooh, the last straw. That's a good one. It refers to that final incident or problem that pushes you over the edge.
It's like that moment when you've had enough and you just can't take it anymore.
Imagine you're dealing with a series of minor annoyances and then something happens that just tips the scales.
It's like, okay, that's it. I'm done.
That was the last straw.
Exactly. Okay,
Yeah.
what about those times when we need to gather our thoughts and regain our composure?
Ah, you're talking about pull yourself together.
Pull yourself together. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's that internal pep talk we give ourselves when we're feeling overwhelmed or emotional.
It's like saying, okay, calm down, take a deep breath, and get back in control.
Exactly. It's about finding that inner strength to overcome challenges and keep moving forward.
Okay, let's move on to one that highlights the importance of shared responsibility. It takes two to tango.
It takes two to tango. Now, this one is all about recognizing that both parties involved play a role in a situation.
Exactly. It's like saying you can't blame just one person for a conflict or a problem.
It takes two people to create a certain dynamic, whether it's a relationship, a disagreement, or a collaboration.
And it's a good reminder to consider both sides of the story before jumping to conclusions.
Okay, so let's talk about right off the bat.
Right off the bat, this one means immediately or without delay.
It's like starting something with a lot of energy and enthusiasm.
Exactly, like making a great first impression right off the bat in a job interview.
Or hitting the ground running on a new project.
It conveys a sense of efficiency and a proactive approach.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to hang in there.
Hang in there. A classic expression of encouragement and support.
It's what you say to someone who's going through a tough time.
Yeah. Right, like when they're facing a challenge or feeling discouraged.
It's a way of saying, don't give up, keep fighting, and things will get better.
Exactly. It's a message of hope and resilience.
Okay, this next one is about those shared experiences that connect us in the same boat.
In the same boat. This one means facing a similar situation or challenge as someone else.
Like being in the same class, struggling with the same homework assignment.
We're going through a similar life experience like a job loss or a move.
It's a reminder that we're not alone in our struggles.
Right. And that shared experiences can create a sense of camaraderie and understanding.
Okay, let's talk about one that's especially relevant in today's world. Take it with a grain of salt.
Take it with a grain of salt. This one means to not take something too literally or seriously.
Right. Especially when it comes to information from questionable sources.
Like rumors, gossip, or sensationalized news stories.
It's about being discerning and critical thinking for yourself.
And not believing everything you hear.
Okay, let's talk about kill two birds with one stone.
Ooh, kill two birds with one stone. This one's all about efficiency and multitasking.
It means to accomplish two goals with one action.
Like running errands that are all in the same area, or combining a work trip with a vacation.
It's about being strategic and making the most of your time and effort.
Exactly. It's all about working smarter, not harder.
Okay, let's talk about one that's a bit more about relationships. Burn bridges.
Burn bridges. This one is a bit more negative. It means to damage a relationship beyond repair.
It's like ending things on bad terms or doing something that makes it impossible to go back.
Right. It's like quitting a job in a fit of anger or betraying someone's trust.
It's a reminder to be mindful of our actions and the impact they have on others.
And to try to maintain positive relationships whenever possible.
Okay, this next one is about those situations where there's more to the story than meets the tip of the iceberg.
The tip of the iceberg. This one refers to the small, visible part of a much larger hidden problem or situation.
Like seeing a few minor symptoms of an illness that could indicate a more serious underlying condition.
Or noticing a small crack in a building's foundation that could signal a major structural issue.
It's a reminder to look beyond the surface and consider the potential complexities that might be at play.
Right. There's often more to the story than we initially realize.
Okay, let's talk about add fuel to the fire.
Add fuel to the fire. This one means to make a situation worse by escalating the conflict or tension.
Like saying something inflammatory during an argument, or making a decision that further complicates a problem.
It's a reminder to try to de-escalate tense situations and to focus on finding solutions rather than adding to the drama.
Absolutely. Well, we've covered a lot of ground in part 2, but we still have even more fascinating idioms to explore.
Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll delve even deeper into the nuances of these expressions and how they can enhance your communication.
Welcome back to our deep dive into English idioms. We've explored so many interesting expressions already, but we're not done yet. Are you ready for part 3?
Absolutely. There are still plenty more idioms where those came from, each one with its own unique twist and flavor.
Okay, so let's dive right in. What about those times when we take on a task that turns out to be much harder than we expected? We think we can handle it, but then it's like, whoa, this is a lot.
You're talking about biting off more than you can chew.
Biting off more than you can chew. Exactly. It's that feeling of being overwhelmed by something you thought you could handle.
Right. It's like taking a huge bite of food and then realizing you can't actually swallow it.
Okay, so imagine this. You sign up for a bunch of extra projects at work, thinking you can easily manage them all.
Yeah.
But then you find yourself working late nights and weekends just trying to keep up.
Oh, yeah. In that case, you definitely bit off more than you could chew.
Totally. And it's a good reminder to be realistic about our limits.
Sometimes it's better to start small and gradually take on more responsibility as we gain experience.
Okay, this next one is all about being understanding and forgiving. Cut someone some slack.
Cut someone some slack. I love this one. It's about giving people the benefit of the doubt and not being too quick to judge.
Right. Like recognizing that everyone makes mistakes and that we all need a little grace sometimes.
Imagine a new employee who's still learning the ropes. They might make a few blunders along the way.
Or a friend who's going through a tough time. They might not be their usual cheerful self.
Exactly. In those situations, it's important to cut them some slack and offer support rather than criticism.
Okay, this next one is something we can all relate to. Easier said than done.
Oh, yeah. Easier said than done. A classic. It basically means that something might sound simple in theory, but it's much harder to actually do it.
Right. It's like when someone tells you to just relax
Hmm.
when you're feeling stressed.
Easier said than done right. Sometimes it's not that easy to just switch off those anxious thoughts.
Exactly. Or when someone tells you to follow your dreams without acknowledging the practical challenges involved.
Yeah, there's often a lot more to it than meets the eye.
Okay, so what about those times when we find ourselves in a bit of trouble or facing the consequences of our actions?
You're talking about being in hot water.
In hot water, exactly.
No.
It's like that feeling of being in a difficult or awkward situation.
Right, like when you accidentally spill coffee on your boss's new white shirt.
Oh no, that's definitely a recipe for being in hot water.
Or when you forget your anniversary and your partner is not too happy about it.
Yeah, that's a surefire way to land yourself in hot water.
It's a good reminder to be mindful of our actions and to think before we speak or act.
Okay, let's talk about one that's all about perspective. Blow things out of proportion.
Blow things out of proportion.
Mhm.
This one's about overreacting to a situation and making it seem bigger or more dramatic than it actually is.
Right. It's like taking a small problem and turning it into a major crisis.
Like when you get a tiny scratch on your car and you act like it's completely totaled.
Or when you miss one deadline and you start to worry that you're going to lose your job.
It's important to keep things in perspective and not let our emotions get the best of us.
Okay, this next one is a bit more about optimism and finding the good in difficult situations, a blessing in disguise.
A blessing in disguise. I love this one. It's about those unexpected events that turn out to be positive in the end.
Right. It's like when you lose your job but then end up finding a much better one.
Or when you miss a flight that later gets canceled, sparing you from a travel nightmare.
It's a reminder that sometimes things happen for a reason, even if we don't understand it at the time.
And that even setbacks can lead to unexpected opportunities.
Okay, let's talk about every cloud has a silver lining.
Every cloud has a silver lining. A classic. It's about finding hope and positivity even in difficult situations.
Right. Like focusing on the good that can come from a challenging experience.
It's like looking for that glimmer of light even on the darkest of days.
It's a reminder that things will eventually get better and that there's always something to be grateful for.
It's a great way to stay positive and resilient when facing adversity.
Okay, let's wrap things up with a few fun and whimsical idioms.
I love that idea. Let's add a touch of playfulness to our language.
So imagine you're with a friend who seems lost in thought. You might gently nudge them and say, A penny for your thoughts.
A penny for your thoughts. That's such a charming way to invite someone to share what's on their mind.
Right. It's a gentle way of saying, hey, what are you thinking about?
It shows that you're interested in their thoughts and feelings.
Okay, so what about those times when everyone seems to be following a trend or jumping on the bandwagon?
Jumping on the bandwagon. This one's all about joining a popular trend or movement, often without much critical thought.
Right. It's like when a new fashion fad comes along and suddenly everyone's wearing it.
Or when a new social media challenge goes viral and everyone's trying it out.
It's a reminder to be mindful of our choices and not just follow the crowd blindly.
Think for yourself and do what feels right for you.
Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room. This one refers to that obvious problem or issue that everyone's aware of, but no one wants to talk about.
Right. It's like that awkward silence when everyone knows something's wrong, but no one's willing to address it.
It's a reminder that open and honest communication is essential even when it's uncomfortable.
It's better to face those difficult conversations head on, rather than letting problems fester and grow.
Exactly. Okay, so what about those times when we decide to give up on something or acknowledge defeat?
You mean throwing in the towel?
Throwing in the towel,
Yeah.
exactly. It means to admit defeat and stop trying.
It's like saying, okay, I've given it my best shot, but it's time to move on.
It can be a tough decision to make, but sometimes it's the right one.
Right. It's important to recognize when it's time to let go and focus our energy on something else.
And sometimes we just need to get straight to the point without all the fluff and filler.
You mean stop beating around the bush?
Stop beating around the bush, exactly.
Ah.
It means to speak directly and clearly without any hesitation or ambiguity.
Right. Like when you need to have a difficult conversation with someone and you just want to get right to the heart of the matter.
It's a reminder to be honest and upfront with our communication.
And to avoid any unnecessary confusion or misunderstandings.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into English idioms. It's been an incredible journey exploring these colorful expressions.
I hope you've enjoyed learning about these idioms as much as we have. Remember, these expressions are more than just words. They're a reflection of our culture, our history, and our shared human experiences.
They add depth and nuance to our language, and they help us to connect with each other in meaningful ways.
So the next time you're looking for a way to spice up your conversations or to impress your friends with your English skills, try incorporating some of these idioms into your everyday speech. You might be surprised at how much they enhance your communication and bring a smile to someone's face.
And that's a wrap for today's deep dive. Until next time, happy language learning.